Do you think it's really efficient to watch anime when it comes? Yeah.
The first thing I want to say is
Make some Japanese friends. That was the easiest way for me to learn Japanese.
Some people mention like you actually need to learn kanji if you want to live in Japan. What's your opinion?
Listening to Japanese for thousands and thousands of hours. That's how I became fluent.
Hey guys, how you doing? I'm Takashi from Japan. So today I'm going to interview foreigners in Japan. How did you become fluent in Japanese? This video is sponsored by Gogo Nihon. If you want to find out how you can live and study in Japan or learning Japanese online, keep watching this video until the end. I will also leave link in the description below, so check it out. Thank you for your time. 日本語で自己紹介してもらっても大丈夫ですか？
はい、アメリカ人のニック、日本に来てもう15年ぐらい経ってんだけど、まあ日本で漫才っていう日本のコメディとか、まあ YouTube とかインスタとかそういうインフルエンサーっぽいことをやってます。はい。なんでもやってんの？He's like laughing.
でも So yeah, he's my friend, and we usually talk in Japanese because you know his Japanese is better than my English. So that's why we talk in Japanese. But anyway, so the topic is about learning Japanese.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna ask directly, like, how did you become fluent in Japanese?
So I became fluent in Japanese by listening to Japanese for thousands and thousands of hours. That's how I became fluent.
In Japan or in America?
Yes. So when I was a university student, I'm much older. I'm 10 years older than you, right? Or more. YouTube was still small. And there was not really any Netflix. So if you wanted to listen to Japanese, you had to move to Japan. That was the only thing, really the only thing you could do.
Like when you came here to live here, you didn't speak Japanese at all, or
No, I knew some Japanese because I'd studied it. But studying it and like actually acquiring it is different. So studying is like looking at the foundations or like a map. You know, it's like the 準備は英語でなんだっけ?
preparation?
Preparations, yeah. See, I'm forgetting English. It's like the preparation for actually acquiring the language.
How did you learn actually when you came here? Like, you know, like did you make Japanese friends a lot, or you know, like yeah?
Yes, so I'm definitely not the best student, but I was always hanging out with Japanese people, like always, and I was listening to people. So while some people were studying and getting good on tests, I was outside actually learning how to communicate in Japanese.
How long did it take in general, like you know, the level you considered fluent after coming here?
I would say 5 years is a pretty good number. You'll hear tons of companies saying get fluent in 2 months or like in 6 months. No, I mean, I think if you study or if you immerse 8 hours every day, you can probably do it in maybe 2 or 3 years. But I think 5 years is pretty realistic. 5 to 8.
Even though you know you're in Japan, you're surrounded by Japanese people, you speak Japanese all the time, but it takes 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, you get better and better, you know. Say you want to do like martial arts, you can't just read about it and then do it. You read about it, oh, this is what it is, and then you practice it and practice it and practice it and get good. So when you're actually studying, that's just the preparation.
I think this is kind of a tricky question, but what's the best way to learn Japanese in 2023?
I can tell everybody this. You live in the best time ever to learn any language. As I said, you can watch YouTube, you can watch Netflix. What you really need to do is watch things in Japanese with either Japanese subtitles or no Japanese subtitles. You can't watch any of your own native language entertainment. If you're an American, no more English entertainment, just Japanese stuff. It sounds really crazy and nerdy, which I am a nerd, but like that's what you have to do.
What's a piece of advice you give to someone who just started learning Japanese?
Okay.
Not in Japan. Yeah.
Not in Japan.
Yeah.
This is not just for Japanese, but any language. You have to accept that you won't understand almost anything at first. That's the hardest thing. I'd say maybe the first 3-4 months, everything is gibberish, but you have to keep listening until you understand it. And another piece of advice is watch things for kids first. You watch easy things. Basically, you think of yourself as a baby. You're a baby again. You know how babies can't speak? They hear, Mama, Dad. Like they hear that from their parents and then oh, that's mom, that's dad. You're doing the same thing, but through digital media.
Do you feel like you still learn Japanese or in your daily life or not anymore?
Yeah. I mean, I still learn words like, この前何だったっけ? 添加物. Oh,
How do you say in English? I don't know.
additive. Additive, like in food, right? そう。でも普段使わないじゃん、あれね。
なるほど。ありがとうございます。
Sure.
Thank you for your time. Where from?
I'm from Portland, Oregon, in the United States.
And you just came here, right?
Yeah, 7 months ago, about.
2 months ago. And you speak Japanese.
I'm okay. I'm okay.
じゃあ自分のイントロダクションをちょっと日本語でしてみてください。
はい、マットです。アメリカ人で今大阪に 住んでます。日本語はもう12年ぐらい前から勉強してて、あと YouTube とかで日本語の、勉強について動画作ってます。まあちょっと活動休んでるんだけど今。
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you about learning Japanese. How did you learn Japanese in the first place? Yeah.
So I think I learned Japanese with a pretty unconventional approach where I learned entirely through input, almost entirely in the United States. So basically, I just sat in my room and watched anime and Japanese dramas and Japanese movies and all day, and I read Japanese books all day, and I just got tons and tons of input. So all my focus was on understanding and not on speaking. And after doing that, like, 6 to 8 hours a day, every single day for like a couple years, I started being able to speak pretty naturally. My kind of philosophy was if I spoke Japanese too early, I would make lots of mistakes that would become bad habits. So I actually wanted to get this foundation and build up my intuition just through listening to the language and reading the language so that when I did speak, I could kind of correct myself. I'd know when I made a mistake, and that way I could speak really naturally.
Many people mention like you should come to Japan first to learn Japanese. And I think I agree with that. For me, yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, that's a really hard question because I think it depends on what your goals and your priorities are. But what I've noticed is that lots of people live in Japan for many years, sometimes 10 plus years, and they speak almost no Japanese. So clearly living in Japan doesn't automatically make you get good at Japanese. And in fact, now that I'm living in Japan, I really get that because living in Japan is a lot of fun. There's a lot more fun things to do here than just sit and study. So actually, I think it'd be good to focus on studying for a couple years in America, then come to Japan, and then you'll be able to make Japanese friends and kind of enter the parts of Japanese society that normally you wouldn't be able to access if you didn't know Japanese.
That's what you did, right? Basically.
Yeah, you don't have to be as extreme as me.
Yeah, like 12 years.
Yeah,
12 years.
I was a very, very extreme example, but I think just like 1 or 2 years of really focused study before coming to Japan, I think would give the best result for most people.
If someone asks you, what's the best way to learn Japanese from scratch?
Yeah.
How would you answer?
Well, yeah, I would say at the very beginning, it's good to do standard things like get a textbook, learn some basic grammar, memorize the most common 1,000 words. But after that, instead of focusing on doing things like textbooks, just focus on input. Most people, they put off, watching anime with no subtitles or reading a book in Japanese because they're like, I'm not ready yet. Well, you're never going to be ready. So you just got to start before you're ready, and that's how you figure it out when you go.
And you mentioned anime, and you learn Japanese by watching anime as well, right?
Yeah, a lot of anime, especially early on.
Okay. Many people discuss about this topic.
Yeah.
Learning Japanese by watching anime. Some people mention like it's good, but some people mention like it's not really good because it's not like daily conversation Japanese. Like, what do you think? Like, do you think it's really, really efficient to watch anime? When it comes,
The first thing I want to say is people have this worry, right, of, anime Japanese is not like real Japanese. So if you learn through Japanese from anime, you sound like an anime character, right?
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you, do I sound like an anime character?
Nah.
Right? My Japanese is pretty natural, right? And so I think, in a way, you got to start arguing theoretically and look at the facts. I have never met anyone who is actually good at Japanese and they sound like an anime character, right? And the reason for this is because when you have anime Japanese and real life Japanese, they're like 95% the same. Right, same grammar, same vocabulary, right? Like take a word like sugoi. Does sugoi mean something different in anime in real life? No, it means the same thing, right? So it's really just the same Japanese with a little bit of extra anime flavor on the top. And so if you learn mostly through anime and then you go and listen to real life people, very quickly you'll be able to recalibrate and adjust and figure out what natural Japanese sounds.
Okay.
So I think for me the most important thing is you want to find content that you like, because learning Japanese takes a long time, like thousands of hours. So if you like anime, you just really enjoy it, then that's really good to learn Japanese from because you'll be able to put all the time in, right? If you don't like anime, then probably don't use anime, find something that you do like.
What's a piece of advice you give to someone who just started learning Japanese?
Well, another one I can say is if you want to sound good, study pitch accent early on. It's a really important aspect of the pronunciation of words like hashi, hashi. And it's something that generally they never teach you in the textbooks or in classes. For me, I didn't find out about this until really late. So I had to go back and relearn the pronunciation of every word, and it was a lot of work. So if I could go back, I would have started learning pitch accent really early on.
Do you regret that you didn't come earlier?
Yeah, no, I definitely do. Yeah, I think,
you do?
I mean, I wouldn't have wanted to be there from the beginning, but I think like that was one of the first things I thought when I got here of like, I should have come here. I should have come like 5 years ago, and it would have been a lot more fun.
But anyway, you finally now here.
Yeah. It's like, I'm still really glad I came when I did, and I still have the whole life ahead of me to enjoy Japan, so.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you for your time. Can you introduce yourself in Japanese?
はい、こんにちは、アシヤです。ロシア出身で日本でもう11年ぐらい住んでます。 YouTuber やってます。よろしくお願いします。
I want to ask you about, your learning Japanese in Russia before coming to Japan, because you already had, enough level. That's the thing many people want to do, because most of my followers not in Japan, right? But they're learning Japanese, right? So, like, at the time, did you make Japanese friends in Russia, or like, how did you practice your composition?
There are Japanese teacher from Japan, and she just came to Russia and she can't understand any Russian. My first step was to try to talk with her. Like after the lessons, I just stop here to please talk to me. I try to
In Japanese.
Yeah, in Japanese. I try to explain her something in my Japanese. I appreciate her because I think it was hard to understand me for the first time. And after, of course, I made a lot of Japanese friends on the internet.
Is there anything that you did but you didn't need to do?
I think maybe some grammar for N1 is not necessary at all.
You took anyone?
Yeah, of course.
Oh.
I know people who have N1, but they can't do like daily conversation at all.
Wow.
Maybe some N1 grammar and some words. You don't use it in a daily life. When I was in Russia, I tried to learn more difficult words, but it words you don't use it at all like in conversation. Maybe like a newspaper and some books.
You don't need to write kanji anymore. You can just type it, right? As long as you can read, it's not important, right? But at the same time, some people mention like you actually need to learn kanji if you want to live in Japan. What's your opinion?
I think, of course, it's better to know kanji, but maybe in daily life the conversation is more necessary. I don't like things like kanji. You don't need it. Well, you don't really need to write it. But if you don't write it, you can't read it.
Right, that's right. If you were in Russia before coming to Japan, would you learn kanji again?
Yeah, I think I do the same thing because I have like a plenty of free time in Russia. But when it came to Japan, you're like more busy with my daily life.
So when you have time in your country before coming to Japan,
yeah.
it's time to learn kanji, you say?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, cool, that's cool. ありがとうございました。ありがとうございました。Thank you for your time. So you speak Japanese?
I do a little bit.
出身はどこですか？
出身はネパールです。
ネパール。
はい、今年6年目です。
6年目？
はい。
どういう仕事されてますか？
最近モデル
モデル
してます。はい。
How did you learn Japanese?
I went to Japanese language school for 1.5 years, and I had many Japanese friends at the time.
How long did it take?
It takes around 1 year to be able to do a conversation, but I do think that you have to study at first. Do you know the basic things? I think you need to study, and after that, for me personally, it was more of a speaking and practicing. So maybe we make some Japanese friends. That's the easiest way. That was the easiest way for me to learn Japanese.
Is there anything you regret about learning Japanese? Like things you shouldn't do but you did, or things you should have done or but you didn't?
I regret not learning kanjis and stuff like that because it makes my daily life harder in some way. If you are learning Japanese, give your little bit of time to kanji and stuff too. It's just an example for like if you are going for something to do in like government section, there are lots of forms and stuff, or sometimes some paper come delivered in your house, so you cannot read it by yourself. You need to ask help for some people. At that time, I do feel sad, and I regret that I should have learned.
You went to Japanese language school, right? I know so many people who go to Japanese language school in Japan, and they ended up not being able to speak Japanese. And some people now they speak Japanese. You're the one who speaks Japanese right now, so right? Like, what's the difference?
Personal opinion, I think you need to concentrate more. If you are in Japan, please give Japanese little bit more importance. Because some people think like, oh, I don't care about studying. I'm having not any problem in my daily life. So that's not the attitude, in my opinion. In any country where you speak different language than English, it is human behavior to at least try to learn their way of living or way of speaking. It is just a human behavior.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, thank you for watching. How was it? That was interesting. Thank you for Gogo Nihon for sponsoring this video. Gogo Nihon is a study abroad agency helping students from all across the world to help live and study in Japan. They have supported over 11,000 people to make their dream of living in Japan come true. Gogo Nihon helps students on every step of the way, from applying to the student visa to finding the right language school and accommodation and more. They offer support in 7 different languages, and the best part, it's 100% free. But that's not all. Gogo Nihon also offers Japanese online courses, which were created together with the best language schools in Japan. They have courses for many level of Japanese learners, including complete beginners. So if you want to start learning Japanese now, check out Japanese Online by Gogo Nihon with the link below in the description. See you next time.